To steal a description from Xander Scullion, you gonna get the new Switch XL? 'Cause it's here. So that's right. After all this time, after all the speculation, after all the Switch Pro talk, we finally get it. It's here. It's announced. 100%. It's coming out. It'll be here. It'll be here October 8th. I believe it comes out the same time as the new Metroid game. And the big kicker here is that it's an upgraded Switch. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Okay, let's talk about this. You knew that I was going to say something about it. Am I excited about this thing? Yes, and at the same time, no. And there is a legitimate reason why. First off, a new Switch, ever so slightly bigger screen that will produce a way better picture that has... Let's go into a couple of things that I'm excited about. One, the color scheme for this thing is awesome. You can get the normal one or you can get the one that I want, the white one. That one looks great. It's really sharp. That white and black on top of each other, that comparison right there. Oh, that is so awesome. That I like a lot. I mean, I like it a lot. The kickstand. Big deal. Big deal. Especially after replacing I have to fix the kickstand over and over and over and over and over again on my daughter's Switch all the time. All the time. Never fails. Never fails that she's like, I'm going to put this here. And there we go. Every time she sets it down and it breaks. Every freaking time. It drives me crazy. But look, all in all, these are small upgrades. From what I'm understanding, we're going to have a slightly bigger internal hard drive. Like double the size. Let's be honest. It wasn't very big to begin with. Double the size is like 64 or some shit like that. It's not very impressive. So you'll be able to save like one more game on your hard drive. Something like that. Maybe. You still need that card. That card is unbelievably important. Buy the biggest card you can get. The kickstand is a pretty big deal. The color scheme is amazing. There's going to be no extra processor power. It's not faster. It's not stronger. The mount has an Ethernet cable connection. Why? For the people that are doing things that this could legitimately help. Say you're playing something, you play a lot of Smash Brothers and you play it online. Damn, this is important. You want to play your Mario Party and get it online. You want to get the new Mario Party, be online. This kind of shit, that's going to be a big help. Because every person that games online and does it normally, that's like a very regular thing that they do. Once they get into any kind of competitive scene, they will tell you, wire your internet connection. Wire it. Because it's a big deal. It makes a difference. But for someone that's going to be more than normally taking it on the go or doing something like that, or just that you don't really play games online, this whole thing, that means nothing. It means nothing. More than likely, it will get no playtime out of me whatsoever in terms of plugging a cable into the back of it. I would really have to be into a game, something fierce, for me to care enough at that point. So that's not a big deal for me. It does absolutely nothing for me. The stand is a big deal. Let's get down to the big deal here. Let's get down to the big deal. There's no actual improvement here aside from a couple of quality of life features. The biggest one being the OLED screen. The OLED screen is a pretty big deal. OLED screens are frackin' beautiful. They are. They produce some damn good images. You got a phone with an OLED screen, it looks good. It looks good. So now this thing comes out, this new Switch comes out, and it's going to have an OLED screen, and that sounds like a pretty big deal. But I do have a little problem. The battery life on the Switch is already bad. I mean, it does what it needs to do for me. If I go somewhere, I may need it for 2-3 hours. I've never had the Switch. In the time that I have played it, I've never been in a situation where I've been out long enough playing the Switch long enough for it to die on me. It's never happened. It has happened to my daughter a couple of times, but oftentimes she likes to take the Switch off the dock and play in the living room, and she'll be there for 2-3 hours, and then she'll be like, it's dying, and she has to go upstairs and plug it back in. That's not the same situation with somebody like me. So that's not that big of a deal. But I know that the OLED is going to sap power from this thing. And the reason I know is because I went and I looked up whether or not OLED screens drain the battery faster on phones that have them. And it just so happens that they do. The information that I found says that an OLED display consumes more power as you turn on because you turn on more pixels. It says that each pixel is composed of 3 tiny LEDs, 4 in some cases if you're talking about LG TVs, and then they emit their own light. With every pixel off, the display usually just pulls from the controller battery, the controller chip, and that's not really that big of a deal. So if that's all it's got to keep running, then whatever. But that's in terms of your phone, not in terms of a Switch that you're going to be playing. And I imagine that if you're going to be playing it and you're going to be not in dock mode, then the LED screen is going to be what you're really going to be into. That's going to be the feature that you're going to be utilizing, and that feature is going to pull battery power harder than the original screen pulled battery power, which means that the Switch, the new one, will die faster. That could be bad. This thing interests me in terms of its quality of life features. I like the idea of a little bit brighter screen. The battery power hasn't been that big of a deal for me. I love the color scheme. The only thing that would have been better is if there would have been a special release for like this, like original colors, NES colors. That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. But the white, it's really sharp. I really like it. I like the fact that I can set it up easier, that I can play it in dock mode easier. Not dock mode, sorry, but I can play it undocked a little easier because I take my Pro Controller with me a lot of the times. And on the vacation that I went on in my hotel room so that I didn't take up the TV or anything like that, there was kind of like a coffee table there, and I set it up on the coffee table and I kicked back on the couch when we weren't swimming or whatever, and I played my Switch. And it worked just fine. It was anything I needed it to be. But is this really worth it? I mean, it's not an upgrade. It's really not. It's not a Switch Pro. And I'm thinking you're still spending about $400, everything said and done, out the door, tax. So I mean, is it? I'll say this. For everything that we could say against this, the Switch kind of deserves this leniency. See, the PlayStation had a redesign, which led to a PlayStation. So there was a PlayStation, and then another PlayStation. There's 3 that I know of for PS1. There was one where the eye was changed to a slightly different position, but it still looked exactly the same. You'd be hard-pressed. Unless you know about it, you probably bought one or the other and never even realized you had a different one. And then there was the one that was white and it was way smaller. PlayStation 2 got a slim. The Xbox got an arcade and an elite and every fucking thing else. And it's not like we haven't seen this before. Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color. I guess Color could technically count as a new system because it played games that you couldn't play on the Pocket or the Game Boy. And oftentimes, we've seen these kinds of upgrades. I mean, look, we went DS, DSL, we went DS, DS Lite. Was it DSi? I honestly can't remember. There was an XL, a 3DS. 3DS, once again, being a new system. You couldn't play the DS game. Well, you could play the DS games, but, you know, those games weren't backwards compatible from 3DS into DS. But, I mean, a lot of systems, a lot of consoles in a single run get about 2 or 3 revisions. It's become kind of a standard of the industry. So I don't know that I can hate that this is happening, but it is off-putting to think that I would have to buy another Switch. And I don't have to. I have a Switch. My daughter has a Switch. My wife has a Switch. I'm pretty much out of excuses as to why I would buy a new Switch. It's very much a fear of missing out. That's what it is. That's what they're gunning on. And the people that don't have a Switch, this is a good opportunity to get in there and get one. This is going to be arguably a superior product to the first release. But is it worth it? Less battery life, not really extreme upgrades. I don't know. That's up to each individual person at this point. It really is. I want one. The chances that I'll actually buy one, slim. Very slim. I guess it would depend on where my money is at the time. Because I would really have to have a real excuse. I mean, I could buy another Switch, but it feels like it's pointless. Normally, by the time we see a third revision of a console, they're very close to releasing a new system. And I imagine that the Nintendo Switch can't last much longer. It really can't. I mean, you gotta think, with everything that we've already forced onto the Switch, without a better processor, without more power, without some new hardware, Nintendo's going to lose the third-party titles. They're going to lose them, and it's going to hurt them bad. They already can't get a good portion of new-party titles. Like, they can't. There's going to be games, in fact, there are already games that simply are not coming to the Switch. They will not be coming to the Switch. And it's just going to get more and more and more from this point forward. So really, it is beyond time for a new Switch. Not an upgrade, not a revision, but let's hand this to them. Consoles get refreshes, and that's exactly what this is. And it's more than likely, in my opinion, it's the last refresh. We cannot be sitting on more than 1 or 2 years before we start hearing actual next generation stuff. I'm telling you, it's just no way. I'm gonna get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.